Welcome to the journey of Vishwa Foundation, an organization dedicated to bringing positive change to society every single day. In just 1,176 days since its inception in May 2021, Vishwa Foundation has grown into a beacon of hope and change. WishwaTalks is an online platform inspiring people to participate in social change by hosting experts who share insights on diverse topics every Saturday.
Namaste. Vishwa is an organization which works towards building the grassroots levels of India. The first step we take towards that is to build an awareness. We work in different causes from education, health, art and culture to 12 other causes. On every Saturday at 11 a.m., we have a talk on these various topics. For example, when it comes to health, India has a rich source of Ayurvedic treatments, alternative medicines like Ayurveda, homeopathy, Siddha, naturopathy. At a time when India is leading in diabetes, heart attacks, cancer, we have preventive medication which can be used. So a lot of talks have come out where people can use household items to prevent some of these or to control some of them. Our grandmothers were a rich source of information. Our parents knew a little lesser than that. And we know a lot lesser than that. And perhaps our children may never get that heritage. Here at Vishwa, we have people who tell us how to use the household items like curry leaves or neem or lemongrass, for what ailments, etc. Similarly, we have talks on art and culture. We would like to have our Indians to be united, be one, be proud of their culture, their heritage. We have a lot of talks where people from various walks of life have come forward and spoken about various buildings, various dance forms, etc. These are two examples I have given. We cover 12 causes like this in our Vishwa Talks. As a first step, we want to bring in awareness among the coming generation. Our audience is across the country and sometimes abroad too. We have a rich interactive session after the talk is given by the expert. It's for any person who watches these talks to decide what they want to believe in, what they don't want to believe in, and if they have any clarifications, they're free to ask questions. After this, we want to build the skills of the people of India. Today, India is on the cusp of moving into one of the top countries of the world. But unfortunately, the skills of our people do not match our aspirations. Here at Vishwa, we started out in a small way. We started with computer training. Fortunately for us, Rotary and some people have donated computers to us. We teach 10th class students, inter students and degree students so that when they go for jobs, they don't get rejected. We teach the basics like Excel, Doc, ChatGPT, how to market. The basics we teach, because most of them cannot afford computers and they have no access to them. And similarly, we have something called celebrations. Celebrations is celebrating your loved ones on their anniversaries, on their birthdays, on their death anniversaries. You can contribute to any of the causes that Vishwa showcases on its platform, wishwa.org. You could, Annadanam for instance. There are a lot of people across the country who, when they go to hospitals, they come up from far-off regions and the little money they have, they keep it aside for the treatment of the patient. They sleep on platforms, they hardly eat anything. And we give them food every afternoon on Fridays and it makes a lot of difference. There are similar such fundraisers. Please feel free to celebrate your loved ones with any of these causes.
Vishwa's commitment towards zero waste and the long way to go in achieving the goal begins with our material donation drive. Conducted twice a year during Diwali and Ugadi in Hyderabad, this drive collects clothes, books, toys and other used or semi-used items for the underprivileged. Contributions from over 615 plus families have benefited around 2,800 individuals, providing essential items and support, bringing hope and dignity to them. Through these efforts, we transform the waste of some into the treasure of others, promoting sustainability and community welfare.
Namaskaram. A very good morning and welcome to WishwaTalks. My name is Trishant And I thank you all for attending today's event on Zoom and to those watching on YouTube Live. For those of you who have attended a Visual Talk before, a warm welcome back. And for our new joinees, here's a little bit about us. WishwaTalks is a platform to create awareness amongst people and to protect our social heritage and to let people make their own decisions. Here, we invite experts to discuss and explore diverse opinions, different perspectives, various issues, problems, and their solutions on various fields, including art and culture, healthcare, environment, education, and many more. Each webinar is an interactive session with a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. If you miss any part of the session or would like to go through the previous sessions, please visit our website, wishwa.org, for a full library of past Wishwa talks on various interesting topics. It is my great pleasure to warmly welcome Mr. Navid Hussain. Navid Hussain is a partner at HS Rugs, a brand established in 2017 by his father, Haji Mohammed Hussain, along with his two brothers. Naveed is deeply engaged in the world of hand-woven carpets, with a special focus on Afghan and Persian rug traditions. Through his work at HS Rugs, he brings forward not just carpets, but narratives of culture, craftsmanship, and centuries of artistic exchange. With a keen understanding of the art of rug craftsmanship, he explores how every knot carries the memory of a civilization. Today, he will be sharing his insights on the cultural and historical significance of carpets and their journey across the trade routes that once connected the world. Without further ado, I now invite Mr. Naveed Hussain to share his insights on carpets and the Silk Routes. Good morning again.
Good morning, Dishan. Thank you so much for such a good introduction, and good morning to everyone who has joined this auspicious day for this particular web talk. So my name is Navid Hussain. I am a second generation into this craft. My father is the first generation. And what excites me about this craft is basically every day you knew and you know ki you have learned something, but still you mess something up in this because there's a lot to learn in this craft. And today we are just starting with the focal point that basically gives the whole idea of what carpet culture is. Because when you learn about the carpet culture, it basically started in Central Asia by the nomadic tribes. So those nomadic tribes were basically mostly placed in Central Asia, and these tribes were the originators of this craft. And for them, this craft basically evolved, and what you call as it grew. It grew along with the Silk Route. So discussing the Silk Route would be today the main issue and the main topic of point. Silk Route, how Silk Route had helped carpet culture along the way. So this first painting that you are seeing is just the idea of what we were going to discuss. The first painting is by a very famous artist. And this is a French artist who did this. And this is the first painting that basically gave the Europeans the idea of carpet culture. So carpet culture prior to that was just a myth, or for European people, it was just a product in itself. There was no art or culture along with it. But when they saw this painting, Jean-Leon Jerome is the painter of this craft, and he depicted this craft through him, through his eyes, through his craftsmanship. They knew what carpet culture is. So we'll start with our presentation. So the first slides goes, we can go to the next slide. So the Silk Route basically was a historical route that connected our regions like China, Persia, Central Asia, Afghanistan, and Anatolia. This connection of regions allowed artistic ideas travel across different regions. So if we go through the origin of Silk Route, it started in Han Dynasty in 2nd BCE. Connecting East Asia, the idea was to connect East Asia to Mediterranean. So the early cities were basically this you are seeing is an elaborate map, which was the last map of the Silk Route, which stretched a long way to a lot of cities. But the original Silk Route was basically Xi'an. There was a city of Xi'an that started. Then Dunhuang, Kashgar, Samarkand, Bukhara, Merv, Ctesiphon, and Antioch. Antioch was the last city which connected European to Europea to Europe at that time. So this was the first map of the what you call the first line of Silk Route. The idea was of to basically the Chinese people wanted to connect to the Europe. So this started like that, and but along the way, along the years of coming years, it became a very important and focal point of trade along this route. We can go to the next slide now. This is the Silk Route that you can see. So it basically connected, like for example, Afghan culture. This carpet culture originated by few countries. It was basically the Central Asia, like Iran, Afghanistan, and Turkey, China. But main focal point was the tribe of Turkmen people, which was a nomadic migratory tribe. So this tribe was on the they were all across Central Asia, and wherever they were, this craft basically was evolving every day or every day to day. The first thing started is ki when the craft carpet, for example, when we know carpet is when it started, it was a necessity. It was never a art. In the areas that it was originated, it was basically to preserve them from the cold at the peak of the winters. And then over the span of time, it became culture and a piece of art in itself. But it was started as a necessity. It started from the flat weaves. The origins of carpet is basically from the flat weaves. Then it became the weaving ones or the knotted ones came into existence. The knotted ones are basically that was started by the Turkmens because of the necessity of their own. And then over the span of time, it took over the whole Silk Route and the whole area as such, as a product of commodity, as a product of trade. We can go to the next slide. We can go to the next slide.
Just a moment, sir. It's
Yeah. So this is the origins of carpet weaving, as I discussed. The origin started, the first origin started on the Central Asia, but prior to this, it was a flat weave. There was no particular concept of carpets till a lot of eras. And after this slide, you'll find the one which I will discuss. It's the oldest known carpet that we have found is Pasiriak. So the art, we can trace it back to 5th century, 5th BCE, only on the cause of the last art that was deciphered or could be taken as a reference when this art was originated was that particular product itself, because a patch of a good patch of carpet was buried under the glacier. So when they extracted it, that's where they got to understand the carpet, how old this craft is. Prior to that, it was just assumptions, and after that, it was just a concrete evidence this craft can be traced back to 5th BCE. And the other part being when it was discovered, so they got to understand the idea of how developed that craft was at 5th BCE itself. So this was the idea. And the Silk Road basically was the prime example of how this craft grew over the time, and it expanded to different cultures and expanded to different countries as of such at that time, as we can see dynasties at that era. We can move on to the next slide. So the first picture that you see with the small patch, that is Pazirik. Pazirik is this one only, which was discovered in Siberian glacier. Now it's in the museum. But if you see the elaborate motifs of the carpet, that basically shows how developed the art was at 5th BC. And this basically gives the whole evidence of the craft in itself. What material was being used, what technique was being done. So all this was done in that era. And if we can see this, we can know there was some more eras or some more centuries that were passed when this was being done. So it's still a myth, but we do have a concrete evidence, and the concrete evidence is this particular carpet that was there in the St. Petersburg Museum. And the other picture that you are seeing is basically the weaving culture, how the carpets are being woven, the loom, and the ladies that are weaving these carpets. Then we can move to the next slide. So carpet grew along the Silk Route. The Silk Route didn't just help with the origin of the carpet weaving, it also helped in the growth as the caravans moving along this route were the vessels through which this culture was exchanged. So a lot of people think कि carpets is just a product of Central Asia. No. In a, in a space of time, Chinese had a good carpet culture. They had carpet weavings. Indian carpet weaving came a very late in the subcontinent, but it came afterwards. And prior to this, Iran was there, Afghanistan was there, Turkey was there. So everything was there, but it's not just a craft of one land or one continent. It's a part and parcel of the whole area. With the motifs, the Persian floral motif reached Central Asia. So the exchange was like this when the route stretched from Mediterranean to the East Asia. So the whole idea also transferred from one place to the other place. So Persian floral motifs reached Central Asia where they were not having much of a floral motifs. Chinese cloud and lotus motifs entered Islamic carpets as there was no idea of cloud motifs and lotus motifs in the Central Asia as such. And Afghan tribal symbols traveled across border to the very different, the last focal point, and we can see we have Bukharas of India as well. The idea of tribal rugs and geometrical rugs of Afghanistan reached India as well with the Bukhara designs. With the weaving technique, there are two weaving techniques that were part from the origins. So one is the Persian technique and one is the Turkish. One is symmetrical, one is asymmetrical. That's spread across the whole Silk Route. The sharing of technique evolved loom designs and trimming techniques as well. We can move on to the next slide. Now, in the upper one, you've seen the symmetric knot that I discussed. It's Turkish knot. And the other one is asymmetric knot, which is Persian knot. So when you see both of them, the difference is basically the Persian knot is mostly used in Iran itself. And the Turkish knot is used in Afghanistan and Turkey. And there are a lot of other nations like Caucasian carpets also use this knot. So it differed from both of them. One is a single knot, one is a double knot. And the next picture that you are seeing are the symbols or motifs that are used in the carpet culture, and that usually spread it across the whole Central Asia and Silk Route. So there are different motifs that you can see along. Cypress tree is there, and cypress tree can be deciphered in different things. Raw horns, symbol of power. And these are just a small idea of what motifs can mean as a particular in carpet culture. We can move to the next slide. Trade of raw material. So one of the key pointers that led to the growth of carpet culture is the trade of raw materials. In when Iran didn't have silk, so Iran had silk from China, and then the wool was coming from Central Asia. It reached to China and different countries as such. Cotton was from India, and natural dyes like indigo, madder, and cochineal also came across to different lands. So while we are seeing this craft growing, it grew only on the basis of there was a good and working trade route that was very prevalent, or it had a golden age. That golden age helped the carpet culture as such, because when you see every material is not available in a particular land, you have to have that trade route, and that trade route was the Silk Route that basically helped a lot. And what we are seeing now is basically because of the trade route, it has emerged a lot well. Otherwise, it would have taken a lot of time to have this craft in this manner till now. So these material have helped create this luxurious and long-lasting carpets. Next, we can go to the next slide. Now, these are the products. When you see this, you can see the upper one is silk from China and wool from Central Asia and cotton from India. We can go to the next slide. These are the natural dyes. The upper one is madder, the below one is cochineal and indigo. Then we can go to the growth of carpet, and I think we have moved few slides up. Can we go back? We missed the slide of growth of carpet trade. Can we go back?
Just a moment, sir. I think
No issue.
there's a problem with the sharing screen. Screen share. They'll just reset it.
No issue. I have it on my thing. So the carpet were valuable trade products due to the impact of the Silk Route, and carpets are exported to Europe and the Middle East and sold in bazaar from Samarkand to Istanbul. Carpets basically were a part once used as money, gifts, and diplomatic gifts, came to represent the riches, cultures, and royalty nobility. So when we see this, growth of carpet trade was basically due to the huge demand that came across through different dynasties or different rulers. At the era of 16th century, when the Safavids were in control, and Safavids basically can be given a lot of praise for this, ki when they were there, they have developed it through a different manner. Safavids started this royal craft workshop, royal carpet workshops. Then that idea took over the whole Mughals, and Mughals eventually took it to India as well. At the time of Babur, when Babur came to India, he came with the idea. He was very well influenced with the art and culture of Iran. So he brought this culture to India itself because he liked the carpets and the cultures of Iran. And at the era of Akbar, the first workshop was set up in India. And if you can imagine, Akbar, after that, Jahangir came, Shah Jahan came. So these three kings basically were the prime example of who set up who held the stepping stone of carpet culture in India. Prior to this, India had a good culture of textiles. They had a great grasp of textiles with silk textiles, with cotton textiles, with wool textiles. But carpet culture was missing. So carpet culture came to India through Mughals. Prior to this, whichever carpet was there in India, it was basically uh, got across to the trade route, and there was very few people who had access to it. But in the era of Mughals, the whole carpet culture came to India with the workshops, with the whole craft being done in India. Prior to that, the craft was not being done in India. So this is basically the growth of carpet trade. And when you see this culture being evolved, it was only evolved when royals took the interest, and the interest came with a very good growth for the culture as such. Then we can move to the next slide. Now, this is carpet bazaars. These both carpet bazaars showcases the Iranian bazaars. These bazaars are still in the same shape, same technique that it used to be earlier when it started. And if you can see these bazaars, you can go back in time just to know ki how the carpet trade was usually done. The only thing that has changed the clothes of the people, but otherwise this culture and everything is the same as it could be. We can go to the next slide. So the rise of famous carpets. This is basically a very important focal point that could be discussed. It has to be discussed in this conversation because a lot of people, a lot of cultures now tend to tell that we have a good carpet culture, we have a good carpet centers. But these list of these 5 cities that you are seeing on your screen are basically the historic and what you call the stepping stones for this craft. Persia, Isfahan, Tabriz were the basic prime famous carpet centers. In Afghanistan, Herat and Balkh was the prime centers. Herat used to do productions for the Safavid rulers as well. One of the prime examples is the hunting scene, Herat, and some more pieces were there, which are still in museums. Next is the Central Asia. In Central Asia, Bukhara and Samarkand played a very important role, with Bukhara still being known with one of the very good motifs, which is the Turkman that they started, and still it is a prime example of the geometrical or tribal motif. Samarkand rugs are very understated, or it's not given its due popularity because the Samarkand rugs were basically created out of necessity for the good woolen rugs, and it was started by the Chinese nobles and Chinese rulers, whereby they wanted to have designs of their own but on a woolen thing. They had a good carpet culture over there, but this Turkmen people came up with new designs with flower vases. A lot of designs were there which were very much like something that were liked by the Chinese people. So this originated this craft. Then Turkey, Konya, Anatolia. Turkey is one of the very first examples of who started this, and Konya, Anatolia played a huge role. And when you see Konya Anatolia's old works, they were one of the masterpieces, and the only thing that has been different from the early days till now, Turkey production centers are very less now, which are doing the craft. Other countries are doing still the same work, but the craft of Turkey has declined over the span of time. With China, Nianjia and Jiangxing are basically the two famous trade points that basically did the silk carpets of and historical carpets of China. They are doing still now with a lot of workshops are there that are still being weaving this craft. So this is the prime examples of this. In this, only thing that is missing is the Indian carpet center that started in 16th century. After 16th century, those are started, and the famous cities or the famous places workshops were settled was Lahore, and then you can have Kashmir and Agra. These three places were the prime stepping stones for this culture that started this. Now we have UP Badohi in India. We have Gwalior as such, and Agra is still there, and Amritsar, Punjab is still there, Kashmir is still there. But the three states or three cities that started this was Agra, Lahore, and Kashmir. Kashmir was known for its prime silk carpets, and Agra and Lahore were known for their woolen rugs, woolen carpets. The designs were basically Persian influence, but it has some aesthetics of Indian architecture or Indian prevalence as well. You can find lotus motifs in India, and then most of the designs that were there is basically were what you call as it was taken into an interest from the Persian motifs, like floral motifs of Persia. A lot of designs were evolved at that time. We can go to the next slides. This is the Isfahan Grand Bazaar, the blue tiles. This is the carpet shop in Herat, Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, there are a lot of centers, but the oldest centers that can be traced to the Silk Roads is Herat. Herat played a very huge role, one of the oldest cities. And prior to this, there was Balkh. Balkh is the oldest known city in Afghanistan, and Herat is an afterward city. But Herat played a very huge role in the Silk Road as compared to Balkh. We can go to the next slide. This is the Bukhara carpet market. So the slide that you're seeing in the Bukharas, now they still have their market, they still have their productions. But in Bukhara carpet markets, you'll find the art of all Central Asia. You can go to the next slide. This is an Anatolian carpet market. You can find this in Turkey. These carpets that you're seeing are all vintage pieces. Now, Turkey doesn't have much of a production, so they have their whole old stocks that is basically sold, and the culture is preserved like that only. This is Jiangxing carpet market. Mostly in China, the idea was of silk carpets. Very few people had an interest for woolen. Whereby the cold was too high, the woolen carpets were preferred. So that's why the carpet of woolens were also started in China. We can go to the next slide. So now we come to the carpet and religious influence. This is a very important point at that time because there were along the Silk Road, multiple places were there where the religious factor was different. Even you can see China, there was a different religion. When you come to Afghanistan, at that time when it was started, it was, I think, Zoroastrianism was there, or prior to that, Buddhism was there. In Iran, old Persia, it was Zoroastrianism. So different countries were there, different lands were there, and different religions were there. But the only thing is, it over the span of time, because of the trade, because of the influence of the carpet itself, the motifs traveled across as well. So a lot of Islamic art influenced symmetry, and influence of Islamic art was there with the symmetry and geometry. Islamic art, you can find a lot of, there's a design called Gum motif. Gum motif is basically a design which is influenced by the domes of Persian mosque. And geometrical, it has a good symmetry, so it defined the geometrical carpets as well. And then you can see Buddhist and Chinese symbols entered patterns as well. A lot of Buddhist symbols were there, and Chinese symbols were basically vases, swans, lotus. These motifs were started by the Chinese, and it traveled across Central Asia as well. Sufi and spiritual idealistic inspired symbolic motifs are a lot of things were there that meant as a Sufi and spiritual. The Charbagh was there, which were defined a lot in the Mughal architecture. The tree of life was there, and one of the great examples of the art that started and motive that was there was hunting scene. Hunting scene is given not given much of a due, but it was one of the very historic designs that started because prior to the hunting scene created, there was no idea of having a face or any animal done in the carpet. That was the first design, which motive that started the concept of portrayal of animals, or portrayal of human in the carpet thing, and that was a stepping stone, a different stepping stone, and it was started in the era of Safavids. Safavid as again and again, if I'm mentioning Safavid, because the Safavids played a very important role of changing a route. Prior to that, carpet was a good thing, but it was just a necessity. But Safavis made it art because they have evolved the designs. Tree of Life design was started in the Safavid era. Hunting scene was started at Safavid era. Charbagh, for example, Four Seasons and garden motif. A lot of motifs came at the time of Safavis because they were very much influenced with the art. They wanted to evolve art as much as possible. So Safavis can be given a great respect to the form that they evolved the carpet culture. Carpet also became a vessel or carrier of cultural stories along the iconic Silk Road. So this is an important point because when you see a lot of cultures were not similar. They were different cultures. For example, in India, there was not a culture of garden. It was there, but the garden of Charbagh, for example, split of four gardens, was not there, and that came with the Mughals. And that same thing was replicated to the idea of craft itself. You'll find it in textiles, you'll find it in carpets. Then came the idea of Tree of Life, which was not there in India. Then it is there in Tree of Life is in India. And there is one more motif which is called as Madar Bacha in Iranian. Now in India, we most of the time you see paisleys. It's a double paisley, usually reflected the sign of fertility. It's a Zoroastrian motif. Now you can see it in a lot of Indian motifs or Indian textiles as such. So there is an influence that had Silk Road because the cultures used to come here through the motifs, through the art in itself. So that basically gave a huge push to for reaching a culture to a different land prior to the people itself. The art reached it first. So we can go to the next slide now. Now these the upper one is Sheikh Safi. The upper motif is called Sheikh Safi. It started in Safavi's era, and the below are you can see the Buddhist symbols that entered the patterns. We can go to the next. That's a Chinese piece. This is a dragon which is inspired by the Chinese symbols, whereby in Iran there is a good understanding of dragons. In Iran, one of the two auspicious motifs that are given or that are used are one is a dragon, the other is Simur. Simur is called phoenix. So they have a mythical stories about dragons and phoenix, but they don't do this kind of a motif whereby the whole dragon is shown, but they have its and bits of dragons in their designs. It's not a whole dragon. Then you can see the spiritual and ideas of motif. This is a tree of life. Tree of life symbolizes a tree basically in a poetical way. Tree is basically a life giver, so it had to be represented to through art, and then art when it came with the carpet, it represented it a lot. You can find a lot of poetic examples for the trees, and tree itself is a poetic form in itself as a life form. It reaches to a level. It just it's a magnificent thing. So we can go to the next slide to explain more. Now this is the legacy of Silk Route. When we see what Silk Route left or what Silk Route have given to the thing is a legacy, long-lasting legacy. The influence of Silk Route remains visible in the carpet designs today. As I said, it traveled to a lot of places. Traditional patterns still tell stories of Asian trade and exchange. With continuous trade along the Silk Route weaving, skills were passed down to generations. Now, as we are speaking, a lot of this new generations are doing the traditions and the craft. They are still worried about this craft. They are still trying to grow this craft to a next level because if it is not there, then the craft will die in itself. And a lot of places the craft has been done because there are not new weavers anymore. There are not the new generations are not interested anymore. But this skill was started as a necessity, as I said, but now the necessity is not there because a lot of options are there in the market, and plus people are the patience level of the people are very less. So that has changed a lot with this craft. But still, in Afghanistan and places like Iran, the craft is still being cherished. The craft is still being done in a very big level because the whole generation, a lot of people, families are dependent on the craft of carpets. And one of the major economy assets is carpet for Afghanistan. So this is still there, and it will keep on being done in these lands. Families and tribes kept their style alive, creating the strong handloom tradition we see now. There is a particular story that I want to give with this thing. I may not be providing that in the next slide. I may not find the time. But in Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan, there is a tribe called Baluch. People of Baluch are known for their inclusive. They are very inclusive to their thing. They are not much exclusive with their culture as such. But in people of Baluch, there is a craft. They do have carpet craft in their tribes. And the good part and best part about that is they never make it for the markets. The whole idea is still like that to of necessity. They make for their own homes. There are women that are weaving in their own homes. There's no particular idea of motives. They just weave what they like, and this always comes out very nice because the designs they do is basically the design that they were told or they were taught from the generations. So there's no planning as such with those carpets, and all of the pieces of the tribes of Baluch are exclusive. So this is one such story that I wanted to add with this families and tribe. They're still keeping it alive. So we can go to the next part. Now, the conclusion of all this is basically the silk will transform the craft of carpet weaving. And as much as I put the influence, as much as I give it the wholehearted respect to the part that it was created and it helped what we are seeing right now. And I am very fond of this craft. It's just not for me, it's not just a trade or as a business point of view. If you can, anytime any of you have an idea or have seen a carpet, there's a lot of effort that goes to make a carpet. Given all the respect to all the crafts that are there in the world, carpet culture has a different patience, and it starts with just a wool, which is a natural phenomena that comes, and then that is being taken, molded in a manner that it creates a magic in itself when it's done. So that art basically, as in our land, I come from Afghanistan. So in our land, it's a commodity, it's a necessity. But now, when you see this as an art, I feel I am very much joyful. I'm very much happy seeing this turned out to be now in an art form of way, and it really gives me a lot of happiness because now, whenever I am sharing this, whenever I'm with somebody showcasing my craft, and when I'm explaining them, they are very joyed to hear the stories coming from the land itself because it's just not a commodity now anymore. It's the art itself. So whenever somebody is buying a carpet or somebody is seeing my carpets, it's always they are excited to learn about it because earlier the excitement was not there. Now, because you are not finding the original craft to the stores, you are not finding the original creators of this craft. So the idea has been very much taken apart from you. Ki like carpets are fake, carpets are not original, they are machine made. So when they see this original craft and they learn about the stories that had been from the land itself and that were there or the part and parcel of this craft, that basically gives the new enthusiasm to these people. So this is basically now what we are seeing is an product, and it's a very different phenomena because a lot of things have already been in art while they were created, but this particular craft was just created as a necessity. Now, when I see it transformed it in art, it basically gives me a lot of joy. So it just connected not just weavers, but traders and different cultures, helping create this rich and diverse carpet tradition that is still prevalent and keep on growing in the regions of Afghanistan, Iran, Turkey, and Central Asia. So with this, we conclude our talk, and I hope everybody have enjoyed this, and I hope I have not taken much of a time. So now we'll take to the host. Yeah, how it was.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a really nice and very informative presentation.
Thank you so much.
So before we move on to the Q&A, I'd like to just take 30 seconds of everyone's time for a quick poll. This will help us get to know you better and tailor future topics that we bring to you. Big thanks to everyone here today. Your presence and participation means a lot to us. I hope the poll is reflecting on your screen at the moment. Kindly respond to it within the next 1 minute. While you fill out the poll, I would also like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Navid Hussain, for sharing his valuable time and insights with us. So I'm just going to go through a brief overview. Sir presented a comprehensive exploration of carpet weaving history along with silk routes, tracing its origins, development, and cultural significance. He covered key points like origins and evidence. Carpet weaving originated in Central Asia initially as flat weaves before evolving into knotted carpets. The Pacific carpet, 5th century BCE, discovered in the Siberian glacier, provides the oldest concrete evidence of this craft. The art shows remarkable sophistication even in ancient times. Silk Road's role. The Silk Road facilitated cultural exchange and craft development across regions. Trade routes enabled sharing of materials, silk from China, wool from Central Asia, cotton from India, natural dyes. Motifs traveled across cultures. Persian florals reached Central Asia, Chinese cloud and lotus patterns entered Islamic carpets, Afghan tribal symbols spread to India. Major carpet centers are mentioned: Persia, forgive me for my pronunciation, Isfahan, Tabriz, Afghanistan, Herat, Fars, Central Asia, Bukhara, Samarkand, Turkey, Konya, Anatolia, China, Ningxia, Tianjin, India, Agra, Lahore, Kashmir, established 16th century under Mughals. Cultural influences are mentioned. Safavid dynasty played a pivotal role in transforming carpets from necessity to art form. Religious and spiritual symbols influenced designs, Islamic geometry, Buddhist symbols, tree of life, hunting scenes. Mughals brought carpet culture to India, establishing workshops under Akbar. Legacy. Traditional weaving continues in Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan. Tribes like Baloch maintain authentic practices, weaving for personal use rather than commerce. The craft represents generations of skill, patience, and cultural storytelling. Sir, I hope I've been able to give a decent brief of what you mentioned. And
Yes.
with that, thank you. We will move on to the question and answers. The first question is from, okay, I'm going to unmute Mr. Shmuel. Mr. Shmuel, kindly unmute yourself.
Hi, Mr. Chimel.
Just
You hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear
yes,
you.
sir, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting and insightful presentation. And I want to ask you what situation with carpet culture today in 21st century. Decide what situation with carpet culture today in different places along the Silk Road.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Shmuel. So, to my understanding, you want to know what's the situation of carpet culture in the 21st century and what's the status. So, the status is right now in carpet culture, the development is to a level which it has never seen because of this new era, because of a lot of influence of digital thing, like for example, Instagram, websites are there. Now people are connecting to this culture from different part of the world. Earlier, the only mean of to connect to this craft was basically trade routes. A trader used to bring this craft to their land, to the different lands. then it used to get growth. Now it's basically anybody from any part of the world can buy a carpet. So that has influenced a lot with the culture. The culture is growing every day. In Afghanistan, one of the prime, as I said in my conversation, one of the prime economic provider for Afghanistan is carpets. So if you can see, if it's an economic provider, it basically plays a lot of pivotal role in the country itself, and in Iran as well. In Iran, there is a time when, for example, when the markets are crashing. So what they the government sell their carpets from their treasury to have impact, to negotiate the impact of the market in itself. So in economic factor, it plays a huge role. The carpet is growing every day. And with the coming of machine rugs, with the coming of artificial carpets, the influence has grown more because now people know what the original craft meant. And even though the price difference is a lot with the original craft and the artificial one, but the respect has grown more with the people with the original craft. So I hope this gives you the answer to this, to your question.
Hello, Shmuel. I hope your question is answered.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shul. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to unmute Ms. Renu Parikh for the next question.
Yeah, good morning. I've put a couple of questions in the chat box also. So, and I take it reference to Persian carpets and Safavid is the same. Is that, would that be a fair analogy?
Yeah, Persian carpets, basically Persian carpets, if you say Persian carpets in Islamic, Iran was never called as Persia. It was called Iran. And most of the people know Iranian carpets in India and across the world because of the term Persian carpets, as it is marketed a lot for the Iranian carpets. So if you go across anytime, if I show any person an Iranian carpet, they say, is it Persian? That's the case because the product is marketed a lot to the Western countries like US and UK by the name of Persian, then to the Iranian thing. So it basically is same.
Okay. And I've put a couple of questions. Should I read them out or how do I?
I couldn't answer it in the chat while I was discussing. So you can read it out and I can give you the answers.
Yeah, the first is, I mean, the sketch that you showed on the single and double knots on the graph, no, that Turkey, I was not very clear because of both the clarity on the knots was not very clear to me.
So if you see the entry and exit of the knot, for example, when a thread enters and thread exits, it's two
Just a moment. I'll just ask Pratyusha to share the screen so that she can go back to the slide and maybe show the picture better.
And then it would be very helpful.
Yes. Pratyusha, could you please start the PPT again and show the slide ma'am is referring to, the one with the knots, please?
The sketch has two knots on the right-hand side on the top. Yeah,
So
this one.
if Pratyusha, you could zoom into it a bit.
You can
to
see
the top
the entry point in the first symmetrical knot with the part which is, you can see like fingers, and that is basically an entry point and exit point. So you can see the entry point of both the things are different. They are connecting two different threads into one, but the way of connection is different. So when you see the asymmetrical one, which is Persian, you can see the loop is in a different manner. And when you see the symmetrical one of Turkish, the loop is in another manner. So, well, we are discussing this. Both of them have had the good part as both are both are worthy of carrying it along the lot of time. So this basically does not have any impact on the age of the carpet. It's just one is a Turkish knot which was devised by the Turkmen tribes, a nomadic across Central Asia, and the Persian was prevalent prior to that.
Okay.
So if you see both of them, the difference is minute. But when you see, when you ever come across a Persian, a back of a Persian carpet and a back of a Turkish carpet, you'll see the difference. And the difference is very much prevalent. And I cannot show it here because even if I show it in the back, pictures of the back of the carpet, it won't give you the much. But when you see physically anytime across, You can anytime go to any store nearby your store. You can ask to them, show me a Turkish carpet or Caucasian rugs. You will
Hmm.
find Turkish knot, and you'll see the difference between that. And if you see a Persian knot, you'll find it. It's not
Okay.
much of a difference, but in carpet culture, it's a lot of a difference because the weavers who are making weaving in Persian knot, very few have an idea of Turkish knot because the fingers are working in a manner that is easier. So it takes a lot of time to calibrate to the other form of art. So both are different things.
Okay.
This understands gives you the idea of the thing that I wanted to explain.
And then this knot per that square inch, or that you put so many knots in one square inch,
Yes.
and
So
then
basically, the count will be same.
okay.
Goes nearly same. There's not much of
Okay.
a difference. So the finest ones, we can say we have seen people weaving a 60 knots, 80
Hmm.
80 80
Yeah.
knots per square inch. That is
Hmm.
basically can be attained only in silk carpets. You cannot attain in wool carpets. The finest wool carpets I have, one of the finest wool carpets I have it in my store. It was woven for a last Shah of Afghanistan. It was for the Zahir Shah. So the weaver used to weave for the Zahir Shah's family, and I have the finest one, which is wool and wool. So when I'm saying wool and wool, the difficulty
Hmm.
part is you cannot have wool and wool, and you either you have wool and wool as a carpet, or either you have a fine knotted carpet. Both are different things. You cannot have both in one task because wool in itself, the material is very thick. So you
Yeah.
can weave a fine weave carpet with wool, but there
Okay.
are some good examples of royal carpets whereby the artist went across to find the best finest quality of wool and took a lot of efforts to make something which was basically an art for the royal palaces. So there are examples of such fine pieces, even in Iranian and Afghan artistry. But mostly, if you see the fine versions are in silk, and the thicker ones are always wool.
Okay. I think the next one you have taken care of and answered the other question. The other question is, how do you identify Samarkand Bukhara carpets? Because mostly what we are exposed in India is, silk, the ones that you talk of, Persian carpets and the Kashmir motifs and are more popular. So how do you identify the Samarkand
Let's
Bukhara?
give you a small interesting fact I have given this interesting fact from past few days to a lot of people. So the Bukhara carpet, basically, when you say Bukhara carpet is Bukhara from the region itself, but the name is never Bukhara. It's Teke Turkman.
Okay.
It's called Teke Turkman only on the basis of the people of Turkman, the craft of Turkman. Teke is
Hmm.
basically carpet or a textile that they say. And Turkmans are the weavers. So they say Teke Turkman, the weave of Turkmans.
Okay.
The word Bukhara had found its place in this art only when in India they started making those designs, replicating those designs in Amritsar and Gwalior. So when they started doing this Bukhara motifs or the Afghan motifs, they came up with this term Bukhara carpets to have a resemblance with the art, not with the culture, not with the legacy. It's just with the art itself because the designs, when we were seeing Amritsar, so it came out better as Amritsar Bukhara rugs. So
Acha.
when the term Bukhara, the term when you say it was coined well, it was because the Amritsar, when the craftsmanship started doing this design, until now they are doing it in Amritsar, and retrospectively in Pakistan version of Lahore as well, they are doing the same thing. So that's why they termed it Bukhara. And coming to Samarkand rugs, Bukharas and Samarkands are two different genres, both done by Turkmans. When you
Hmm.
ever come across both of the rugs, you'll see there is two different themes, with the Samarkands being very thick with the wool and with the craft itself. The motifs you will also find different because the geometrical motifs of Bukhara rugs is different to the floral and vase motifs of Samarkand. So these are two different craftsmanship, and the color schemes are also different. While you see a Bukhara carpet, you see a madder influenced and indigo influenced rug mostly. And when you see a Samarkand rug, they are more colorful, and you can see the motifs as well. So anytime you are Googling up, you can find the designs and motifs. Both of them are very different, vast, different things. While what was done in Samarkand was on the request and of the nobles of Chinese, they were not doing it for the market itself. there was a huge demand by the Chinese at that time for that particular thing, and it was done by the Uyghur Muslims. You can hear their name once in a while in news. These people are still known across, and these
Yeah.
people were the originators of this craft. And the Turkmen people, which were doing in Bukhara, so it was not just in Bukhara, it was whole Central Asia, what they were doing. Bukhara was famous just because it was a great trading point, and that trading point they were selling their carpets. Because if they are in a vast different tribe, they cannot sell
Yeah.
in their tribe, sitting in their tribe, and they have to come to the market. So the market was Bukhara. That's why
Okay.
the term was very much influenced, and that basically gave away the thing ki it should be a Bukhara carpets. That's the thing.
And very quickly on then again, rose motifs, because rose was very popular amongst the Mughals and even Safavids. So does that appear?
The
Uh,
first, the most influenced part of the rose motif was basically it was there, but most more than the rose, you will find in Safavi there are palmolate. There was a motif which was known as palmolate. It's a big flower like this, and there was a palm. It's like a palm, and it's
okay.
across the leaves are spread across. That was
Hmm.
basically started in Safavid. Prior to any other flower, you can go through it and Google it. You can see palmolate. And palmolate motif was the first heavy motif that basically influenced the floral motif. Then tinted twines were there, wines were there. A lot of things came, but palmolate was one of the bigger thing. And you will find more of cypress leaves in Afghanistan.
Yeah, that traveled even to the Mughals and everywhere.
So the only concept that I told you in my conversation, whatever you are seeing in Mughal is basically heavily influenced from the Iranian craft, Persian craft,
Yeah.
because Babur, when he was coming to India, he had a great support of Safavid ruler, and
Yeah. Yeah.
same his son Humayun had. Same after that, all the generations till Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb also had a documented thing when he went to Iran to greet the new rulers, and Iranian rulers used to come to India to have some holidays or some sessions with Aurangzeb as such. So all these people had the Timurids. We cannot call them Mughal. The Timurids were basically had a great alliance with the Iranians at that time, and it carried on to a lot of other rulers as well.
Okay. And finally, what's the situation in Herat? It's still active in terms of crafts and art, because it was also production for the musical instruments and everything. So
See, with the musical instruments, I can. My forte is not musical instruments, but I
no,
can.
I understand. But since you mentioned you're from Afghanistan, I couldn't resist a question.
The question, with this question, I can tell you musical instruments in Afghanistan, there are a lot of places that can attribute to the musical instruments. We have Dambura, we have Rubab. Rubab is famous.
Yeah.
But we are one of the prime places that Rubab got its origins. So we have a
Hmm.
lot of things, but over the span of time, because of different eras, because of different people coming and being a part of Afghanistan, ruling it, so it changed. And there is a lot of changes with the musical thing. Whenever there's a change in Islamic and non-Islamic governments. But Herat in itself is a very cultural place, and it holds a lot of cultures in itself. And whenever anytime if you ever have a chance to go to Herat, you'll find the Iranian culture more there as compared to Afghani culture, because those people share
Oh,
their borders with Iran.
yeah.
And if you ever come across a Herat carpet, which is done in,
Hmm.
you'll find the motifs of Iranians more than Afghans, because they were heavily influenced. And as I said in my talk, that they used to be one of the very important players, workshops to supply to the Safavid courts. If you ever write Herat Rak, old Herat
Hmm.
Rak, 16th century, you will find Safavids. And they are now in the museums. So one of the prime examples of the great craftsmanship of Safavid was being done in Herat.
Okay. The carpet weaving is also there still, or it's
Yeah, yeah. As I said, we will not let the any country across the world can, for example, in a span of time of 15, 30 years, they might let go of the carpet craft because of its declining. But in Afghanistan itself, it cannot decline because the people are just not letting it go. Because
no, that's excellent. But if you hold on to your and then you continue, but it's excellent.
So somebody has to hold on to it. And that
Yes, yes, of course. No, it'll be really nice if you can share your contact details also. So because you mentioned that you're based in India.
yeah, I'll mention it. I'll mention
Yeah.
it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, Before we move on to the next questions, I would like to officially close the session once, and then we can move on to the leftover questions. And before I close the session, I'd like to mention the upcoming talks so that the viewers can register for it. The next talk is by Dr. Shravanti Maya, founder and chief psychologist of the Raft. The topic is Beyond Baby Blues, Understanding and Healing Postpartum Depression. That's on 7th March 2026, 11 to 12, 11 a.m. onwards. The next session post that on 14th March is by Deepika Kinhal, CEO of CORD, Center for Online Resolution of Disputes. Topic is, are you stuck in a conflict? Discover smarter ways to resolve it online. This is on 14th March 2026, 11 a.m. onwards. Post that on 21st March, we have Juin Datta, founder and president of Sratoshwini Trust. She's going to be talking on shaping futures beyond the classroom, how extracurricular activities build confidence, creativity, and leadership. With that, I officially close this session, but I'm going to move on with some extra questions. So, the next question is going to be from me. Uh, I would like to know what drew your interest towards studying carpets or to study carpet weaving history along the Silk Routes. What got you into it?
Thank you so much, Nishant bhai, for having this question. So the only thing that I had done my studies in India itself. I am a graduate of law. So whenever people see me, they are very much excited to know what my background is. My background was never this. My father started just as a trade, just because Afghanistan didn't have much to trade at that time. We have dry fruits, we have carpets only. So my father started this as a trade, and eventually it become a livelihood. And then when it become a livelihood, for a long period of time, it was just a livelihood. I didn't have much to care about. I just wanted to see carpets and just of it. But when growing up, and I started to asking my father questions, ki, what is this, what is that? Every child has a curiosity in their mind. When they're seeing their father do some trade or something like such, they tend to ask questions. Papa, what is this? Father, this, what is this? So what questions I asked basically gave me a lot of introspect and a time to think about it. And when I did, prior to me graduating in my law, I had already had a good interest with the carpets, because anytime when you are into this thing, you see every day new products, you see new craft originating from different lands. And I sitting here and mm, prior to telling you or giving you a whole conversation about this, I myself, till now, I'm a student of this craft. I'm still learning, because this craft is so vast. So if anywhere I am a bit gone, or there's a bit of a mistake, so I'm still a learning process. I'm still studying this craft, because no one can expertise this craft. Whenever you see somebody say I'm an expert to this craft, they are still asking somebody else, let me know about this craft, because the thing is, you cannot be expert in all of the genres, and there are a lot of genres in carpet culture. And the good part about this being in the state, when I'm in the state, that basically gave me a good curiosity, only because when I'm seeing all this craft coming every day or another, I'm getting a huge point of knowledge. And when I have a good influence of history as such. So when I combine both of them together, I found it more interesting, because with the carpets flow a lot of history. And just as I said, when you see history, they say this guy ruled here, this guy ruled there, this guy fought this guy fought that. But there is a history of craft as such. And that I wanted to decipher. And that basically led to the interest of the carpet thing. And right now I'm sitting in front of some good interested people about talking about this.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to now unmute Mr. Salim Beg so that he can ask his question. So kindly unmute yourself. I've just prompted you to.
Am I,
Hello, Salim sir.
am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me for this very interesting and informative conversation. I have two questions about the marketing. You made a statement that the machine made carpets have, in fact, helped in enhancing demand for the handmade carpets. Well, handmade carpets since 80s had two onslaughts. The first onslaught was not the machine made carpet, was the raw material. Like silk was replaced by art silk, artificial silk, which is perhaps staple thread,
Yes.
cost difference being huge. And for
Yes.
at least 5 years, I have a background in the carpets. I come from Kashmir
Yes.
from a marketing angle.
Yes.
And subsequently, in 2, 3 years' time, it was revealed that essentially all silk carpets are not silk carpets. There are silk carpets. The demand fell. In fact, in Germany, demand fell by 60% in the first 2 years. So that's one point I wanted to understand how we make a statement that machine-made carpet has improved the sales of handmade carpet. One. Two, there's an observation that handmade carpets better earnings were in bigger sizes. The bigger the size of the carpet, the better the return. Return in terms of wage and demand. Over a period of many years, two things have happened. One is that the living spaces have reduced. Availability of living spaces in a normal European house, which was the biggest demand for carpets from Kashmir, as also from Iran and Afghanistan. Therefore, this demand for bigger sizes has fallen. Two is the price itself. Bigger size carpets have become very costly. Earlier on, it was part of the flooring. Substantially part of the flooring is part of decoration now. The sizes have reduced, the demand has. Would you agree with these two contentions, Mr. Naveed Hussain?
Thank you so much for your observation, and thank you for providing me this intel. And then now I'd like to give you a whole introspect about this. When you talk about this art silk that have came into the market, it basically because in Kashmir craft, nothing to be disrespectful to the craft itself. With the Kashmir craft, a lot of differences, a lot of different techniques came. In Iran, you don't find silk on cotton. Very fewly you will find a workshop doing that. But in Kashmir, out of necessity of the craft, after the rising cost, they started doing silk cotton, which I have seen in a lot of places, it's not working. I've seen carpets, I've seen with people, I have a lot of customers in India that had bought silk carpets, silk cotton. They didn't know much about the craft itself, but because of a Kashmir seller or Kashmir store person has sold them with the thing is it's a silk cotton. They didn't understand the factor of what is the difference between silk on silk, what is the difference between silk on cotton. On the just on the point of price point, they found the silk cotton to be more interesting than the silk on silk. Now, when you see a lot of silk cottons in India, they are done. There's no pile on top of them. They are just a dari now, which is a flat weave. There's nothing to it. All because we have combined two arts, two materials which are never to be combined, which does not help each other. Because cotton is a stiff and silk is a soft material. So at the span of time, it basically cotton kills particles of silk. And then coming to the art silk, yes, as I said, machine carpets, right now, they are nylon and polyester. And prior to this, because they were shortage of material, so and costlier material as well. Iranian carpets are still on the verge. They are best silks and they are still selling. While we have a contrary discussion in this, one, we are having a discussion on the Indian craftsmanship, which is Kashmir, with the silks. And when we can see the other image, which is Iranian silk, in Iran, both the workshops are flourishing when you see the machine workshop and the handmade workshop. Right now, Iran is one of the biggest players in silk carpets, one of the biggest, and they're silk on silks. There is no artificial silk, there is no nothing. When they are doing it, they are doing it the prime best. And even though they don't have to, but they do sign their rugs as well. If you can see a lot of Iranian silks have a signature on top, which shows the workmanship and the weaver's thing. So it gives a more trusted thing to the customers. And this is not something that they started now. This is from the times of the Safavids itself. A lot of royal carpets used to bear the name of the person who commissioned it and the artist itself. So there comes the part of reputation. Now in Kashmiri craft, because of the huge demand for the exports, they tend to have come to a very different thing. Let's try to go to this place. Let's to try to cut costs. That was the prime thing, to cut cost. And when they exported it to, as you said, in Germany, the demand fell. So what they were expecting in Germany was a silk on silk, original silk on silk. What they got was art silk, artificial silk. Now that basically reduced the demand. And plus, when I say ki machine carpets helped to grow the growth for the handmade carpets, it's just because when they see a machine carpets, they tend to realize what efforts has gone to the handmade carpets. And why we should go to the handmade carpets, because when you feel a silk carpet of machine, it damages a lot of nerves in your feet because it's nylon and polyester. And when you have woolen carpets under your feet, it relaxes you more. It doesn't impact on your health. That's the difference. So just because of the cost, people, if they are buying machine rugs, okay. But I have seen from the past 20 years, the demand of the handmade carpets of Iran and Afghanistan. I'm not speaking about the Indian craft, because Indian craft is mostly influenced for the exports. In India itself, you will find a very less demand for the Badoi carpets, while you have a huge demand in outside in US and UK. Why? Because the cost factor is a lot. While in US and UK, the Afghan and Persian tend to be too costly for them. They prefer woolen carpet of Badoi over an Afghan and Iranian one. So it's just the factor of cost itself. Nothing else is there. The trade is blooming. The craft is evolving. And if you can see now, they are doing a lot of Iranian motifs in Badoi itself. With the vintage fading they do, it looks like an old carpet, but it's a new. They are doing a lot of things for the people, and they're trying to evolve this as much as possible. But the only thing that you come now, the next part comes with the cost. I hope I remember the question well. The cost wise, Afghani and Irani, you said the bigger sizes used to be one of the very impactful thing. They have a lot of profit margins in that I can tell. And it takes a lot of patience to make a bigger carpet, because you are taking a lot of workers in work, because every 1 square meter, every 1 meter, you are having one workman working on a loom. So while the bigger the carpet gets, the bigger the forces you have to put on that particular loom to make that carpet. So the cost comes as well. Now, coming to the new era, when you see the houses are shrinking, the bungalows are coming to apartments, the changes are there. But when I see people trying to do different things as well, as earlier it used to be in a one bedroom, one carpet in front of the bed usually was preferred. Now I have seen with a lot of my own customers, they want to have half and half. A big carpet is put in the bedroom, which half of it's basically covered in the bed itself, but they tend to like that aesthetics. It's just a matter of opinion. We are selling bigger carpets. We are having a good demand of bigger carpets as well. Biggest of palace size also. Palace size carpets we have in demand. But it's just we are comparing two different crafts right now. One, we are comparing an Iranian and Afghani thing with the Indian craftsmanship. Yes, in the Indian craftsmanship, the bigger carpet demand have declined, all because of the trade practices. Nothing else. With Kashmiri craft, if I, for example, all respect to all the people who are there doing this craft, promoting this craft, when I have went to the stores in the Indian cities, I do, whenever I'm visiting some city, I'm going through the different stores. I tend to see people having a machine craftsmanship along with the handmade craftsmanship. This basically declines the whole craft in itself. You cannot have two different value of stuff in one store, and then most of them tend to say it's a handmade. It's a committing a fraud to the craft in itself. And right now, there are a lot of articles, a lot of situations, a lot of cases that are registered in Kashmir, all because of the part is ki the people tend to benefit from the customers only on the basis there is no knowledge about it. Me sitting here is just not for the conversation of the part of the Silk Route. One of the pointers of me sitting here is just to give you an overview of what the craft they are observing over in the market. So just to give you an alert to a lot of people that they are observing, that they are listening right now to me, whenever you are going to any store, whenever you are buying anything of carpets, any store across India, any across world, anything you are buying, just let them know, give you a particular certification or a particular example or bill about it, it's a handmade rug. Because at the end of the day, whenever you are buying the handmade rug or something of original craft, it's valued higher than the machine craft. So you should not pay for the machine craft just because somebody has said it's a handmade. You should inspect, you should ask questions, you should know what it is, why it's handmade, why it's difference of machine and handmade is there. So this question should be there in the market. So all across the difference that has come over the span of time, introduction of different craft has come, introduction of different techniques have come, cost reduction is there. But at the end of the day, when you come to Afghanistan, when you come to Iran, there are separate markets of all of this. They are not put together. In Iranian stores you go, you will never see machine and handmade together. In Afghanistan, we still don't have a machine carpets factory. We are still doing the handmade ones. So it's just a thing of your idea, think of your own self, how you want to portray this. I hope this answers your question, Mr. Sali.
I have two small observations to make and a question. One is that having worked lifetime in crafts,
Yes.
malpractices are part of trade practices in all crafts, including carpet crafts. It happens there, and I agree with you. The customer has to be, as they say, mushtari hushar bash.
Yes.
You have to know as a customer what is right and what is not. The second thing I wanted to ask you, in Kashmir, we have introduced a quality certification mark,
Yeah.
which is internationally validated.
GI tag.
It can be checked anytime, anywhere.
Now they are
And
doing.
the certification process is there, quite elaborate, and as of now, hardly any complaint that it has been a counterfeit. Is there a similar kind of a thing in Afghanistan and Iran?
Sir, the only thing that I'm right now telling you, in Afghanistan and Iran, we have separated the craft in itself. If you see a machine carpets, the machine craftsmanship, whoever workshop is selling the machine craftsmanship, in the back of the carpet, they always have a sticker. How many reeds it is, size it is, what material it is, they always put it. In handmade carpets, they don't have to, because whoever is visiting those lands, they know the difference of the handmade and the machine ones. Coming to India, why this GI tag was introduced? As you have mentioned, you have a huge what you call as legacy with this craft, and you have a great interest with this. You have taken a lot of time, spared a lot of your time in this craft with the over the span of time. The idea of GI tag, or the importance of GI tag, was not just because they wanted to promote Kashmiri carpets as a GI tag itself, because a lot of cases were coming across from the city itself.
It's a quality mark. I agree, it's a quality mark.
Last year,
Just a
two
quality
cases were registered. Last year, two cases were registered. Heavy cases were, a lot of inspections were being done all across India, because the malpractices were going to a different level. And when you are into this trade, because I hope you are into the manufacturing thing, you have been into manufacturing, but I come as a seller. I'm very less in the manufacturing. I have some manufacturing workshop that are doing particular some designs and motifs on my end. But
Well, I come from a government background. We introduced this quality mark
yes,
exactly for this purpose, that it's a customer driven. Customer should not be cheated.
so as I said,
The mark is only the customer mark.
the GI tag idea came only because the malpractices were on the peak. Every store had 4 pieces of handmade in the front and 50 pieces of machine in the back. They even used to change the tassels. Now, I think I've given you the fair answer. Ki, like, they change the tassels, they change the sides, they give it a Kashmir wash, and it becomes like a Kashmir silk. Sir, I've seen all the
What
great.
about the logistics of Afghanistan? Now that, as you have mentioned, the carpet exports are booming.
Yeah.
How are the logistics supporting the export because of the sanctions?
See, there is no
Banking
sanctions. No, we don't have any.
banking
We have
banking
sanctions.
processes.
Banking sanctions, but only thing, we don't have any logistic sanctions. Right now,
Okay.
my product is coming to India. My banking, my
Okay.
money, I am sending money to Afghanistan, to the banking.
So
Everything
there
is
are no issues.
no.
Same with America and Europe.
Yeah, it is coming to American banks are intermediary. Now, what can I
Okay.
say more? American banks are trusting it. The money is flowing through America. It's not directly going to Afghanistan. It's directly going to intermediary, and through intermediary, it's going to the Afghan banking channels. From Afghanistan, you cannot send money to a different countries. While for the
Okay.
as such, you have to go
Okay.
third party. But whenever we are buying, importing anything from Afghanistan, we are eligible to send the money back, because everything is open. Routes are open, banking is open. There is no any difficulty with the customs. And
Okay. Okay.
as you have mentioned, ki, what if the certification with carpets of Afghanistan, whether they are handmade or not? In Afghanistan, we don't have machine. So when you don't have the other form of craft, it's very easier to decipher that craft itself.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Thank you for this elaborate reply. Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you so much,
I don't
Salim.
want to
Thank you
prolong
so
the
much, Salim
discussion.
sir, for joining us.
Thank you, Salim.
Thank you, Salim sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
Sir, I'd like to ask, what are the major challenges traditional carpet weavers face in preserving this ancient craft and taking it forward, evolving it?
One of the only reason that there are a lot of reasons, but the most important thing is the decline in the new generation to carry it forward.
Just like any other
So that is
endangered art craft.
prime reason. And
Amazing.
that's why alternates are born. That's why different techniques are being done. Earlier, there was like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there was no mention of hand tufted. There was not something like hand tufted, but it is now emerging. It is growing as such. It's an easier way of making a carpet, but it doesn't have a life in itself for a long period of time. Then a lot of other things are coming as a technique, that the machine weaving that I said, it's a easier task. In a span of some time, you can have a bigger and bigger sizes because a machine carpet has a width of 12 feet and then as long as you can make a carpet. So it's a very easier task for them. All of this is only on the backing of there is no growth in the interest of the new weavers. New generations are not showing interest. That's why the demand is basically catered by artificial thing or an alternative thing. That is the great difficulty that they are facing, but it differs land to land. In Turkey, one example that I have to give, there is in Turkey, there used to be a very prime. Turkey used to be a very good example of silk carpets. They had better silk carpets to an extent to an Iranian carpets. But over the span of time, due to the decline of the production, due to the decline of the interest of the people of Turkish new weavers, the whole concept shifted to China. Now China has a trademark to the Hurricane name. Now it's a very interesting thing. Hurricane was developed, was introduced to the world by Turkish, but the trade name trademark is now attained by Chinese people. Now in China, you will find the weavers weaving the Turkish silk, and then it's shipped back to Turkey and it's sold in different bazaars by the name of Hurricane. They do signature it as Hurricane in Arabic and or Persian text, but it is made in China. So that is the difference now you are seeing because of the lack of what you call the introduction of new weavers. We have sellers a lot. We have a lot of sellers. For example, the new generation is interested to sell the carpet, is interested to do a lot of things with the carpet. Ki, we'll sell it like this, we'll sell it like that. But there's a very lack of idea or a lack of interest for the weaving itself. They are not going back to the basics. They are just trying to utilize the profit. They are not trying to go to the depths and to preserve this art. That's the difficulty that they're facing.
Thank you for the answer, sir. I would also like to know if there are any centers dedicated towards learning and evolving this art form. Also, maybe if there are some renowned artists who have influenced the movement a lot.
See, it's a great question because in Iranian circle, all different parts of the world have a different kind of a way to preserve it. In Afghanistan, we have government workshops which are teaching it.
Amazing.
We have private workshops which are teaching this craft because privates need new weavers, and new weavers is basically how they get when they're teaching it. In India itself, a lot of efforts are being done to preserve this craft with the new workshops, government authorized workshop, because the challenge is to preserve it, just not to let it go. In Iran, there are a lot of master weavers. They have their own workshop, which is being run from centuries and decades, and they have a huge impact. When I say ki in Afghanistan, we have very less weavers that had the chance to sign their rugs because that the idea was not there in Afghanistan. we were basically weaving carpets. We were not trying to have a legacy. The weavers were not trying to have a legacy. One of the biggest legacy maker was Mr. Khal Mohammed. Khal Mohammed was a known personality in across, and he had won a lot of accolades with his design. And he had 12, 15 designs when he started, and that designs basically won a lot of accolades across the carpet culture. But in Iran, there's not one example. There's hundreds of examples. All the cities have different weavers that are
Tiles.
in
Yes.
Isfahan. One of the biggest, if I say one of the most famous and one of the most cherished one, which always holds its value. Because the carpets, at the end of the day, if you have a reputation, your carpet shall hold its value and it shall be increasing. It should not be decreasing. One of the great names is the House of Serafian. So a lot of people who are listening to this and have a bit of a knowledge about the House of Serafian. House of Serafian was the one of the is right now one of the biggest impact makers with the craft, and their family signature, their carpet signatures are replicated a lot as well. Now think about the legacy that you have, whereby they have to replicate your signature, and
True.
there are experts not about the carpet itself. There are experts of deciphering the signature itself. Is the signature originality is from the House of Serafian or it's not? And there are certain more examples. For example, near to the city of Isfahan, there is a carpet center of Nain. There is a huge impact name is called by the name of Habibian. Habibian is one of the prime examples of Nain. Then in Tabriz, we have a lot of weavers that were basically royal weavers, and a lot of workshop usually woven for knotted carpets for the royal court itself. I had a chance to have this Kulinami. I had the carpet of his. Kulinami is one of the first generation. I even have that son's carpet as well. They are pioneers of showcasing the cultural carpets of Iran. One of the designs is called Zir Khaki, which shows the motifs that they unearth. The motifs like vases, dragons, Seymour's phoenix, like that motifs, historical motifs of Iran, they showcases in their art itself till now. So that is basically a different focal point. All the cities in Iran have a very higher craftsmen or a weaver centers that are still their names are recognized. They are still the carpet is sold by the name itself, by the person's signature itself. So this is a basically a very next level of info that you have to have interest to go and find it, because carpet in itself, the basic and primary info is just the carpet. You can learn about it, how the carpet is woven and what's the designs that are important, cities that are making it. But this is the next level. If you have more excitement about this, when you go and see it, you'll find there are very famous weaving centers that are still now there, and they have a huge command upon the market itself. They are the basically
Industry.
they are the trendsetters. That's the thing.
Thank you, sir. I think we have covered all of the questions in the chat box, and I've also covered all the questions I had in my mind. Uh, okay, uh, Miss Renu, ma'am, we will share the contact details. I'll share the email of,
So
I'll share sir's.
anybody who needs to have a conversation furthermore with us, or need to have a contact details, they can follow us on Instagram. Our Insta page is HS Rux. They can find us on Insta, and from there they can have any conversation furthermore. Let's not restrict this to this session. If anybody has any questions, they can come forward and they can text us on Instagram, and then we can have furthermore conversations.
I'm just sharing the Instagram link of HS Vlogs in the chat box for anybody who wants to save it and kindly share it with others uh, who are into carpets and rugs. With that, I'd like to request sir to kindly join the breakout room link that you'll see on your screen shortly, and I will be with you I will be there with you in a minute. And I'd like to thank all of the participants who are with us up until now. Kindly share the recorded version of this webinar with ones you think would be interested in evolving this art form furthermore and also keep continuing the legacy of great art. I request everybody to join us next week for the next session at 11 a.m. Sir, if you would like to, please.
Just to conclude, thank you so much for such a uh, for providing me this platform to just give a bit of a knowledge that I have, and I hope I have not given anything wrong. If I'm wrong, then I apologize for that, because not everybody can attain the whole knowledge. There's a whole world to attain. So with that remark, I'll just like to conclude key like this craft needs interest, and do if you are not buying it, no worry. If you are not adding it in your home, no issues. Just have an understanding of this, because this art basically is a huge thing to have knowledge about, and a bit it's and bits you should have knowledge about everything. So that will generate a lot of keen interest for this, and inshallah, it will create a huge market for this craft coming across. It will not let this craft to die. So I hope this session was informative for everybody, and I hope to have to see across this thing over the other channels as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for WishwaTalks to having me here, and I hope you have a great time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I'll join you shortly. I'm just going to share the recorded version of this particular session in the chat box so that our viewers can share it with others. You can join into the breakout room link that you see on your screen, sir. I'll be there within 30 seconds.
No issue. I'll join.
Thank you so much. Uh, I request the viewers to kindly share the link that I'm going to share with you in the chat box. And also save it, like it, subscribe to the WishwaTalks channel. Look out for our Instagram page for the details of the upcoming session. Kindly register for it. Thank you. Hope to see you next week.